Okay, Algebra 1 fans, our topic for today, these are notes 11-1, central tendency, mean, median, mode, and range. And our objectives after this lesson, students should be able to calculate the mean, median, mode, and range of a set of data. Before we start, let me give you your joke of the day. Why did the coffee file a police report? And the answer is, it got mugged. So we're going to start with just a warm-up on fractions and decimals because you're going to be doing some division when you talk about mean in particular and also median sometimes. And it's nice to be able to do some mental math. So match each fraction to the correct decimal. We've got a box of fractions, and then below that we have a box of decimals. So 1/2 is going to be the same as 0.5. Now if you want, you can draw lines to connect it. I'm just going to write the decimal underneath the fraction like that. Feel free to pause this, go ahead and do your answers, and then you can check and see if I agree with what you have. Now when you talk about thirds, 1/3 is 0.3 repeating. So you'll notice that that's written, that 3 there has a bar over it. We could actually put the bar right here. That just means it goes on and on, so 0.33333. So if 1/3 is 0.3 repeating, 2/3 would be 2 of those, and if we double that, we get 0.6 repeating, so 0.66, and so on. Now you'll notice that there's a 0.6. That is not the same because that stops. So 2/3 is 0.6 repeating. 3/3, well, 3 divided by 3 is actually just 1. So I'm just going to write the number 1 there. So there's 1. Now we get to quarters, and each quarter is 0.25. So 1/4 is 0.25 or 0.25. 2/4, 2 of those would be 0.5. Okay, if you think of money, 25 cents, this would be 50 cents. 3/4 is 75 cents, 0.75. 4 divided by 4 is 1 again. Okay, 1/5. So now if the denominator is 5, these are all 0.2s, 2/10. 1/5 is 0.2, and then 0.4, 0.6, 0.8, and again, a number divided by itself is always 1. And sometimes I'll write my ones with a little tail like that. Okay, so that's just a review of fractions, decimals. So we're going to talk about really 4 things, 4 vocabulary. The overall concept is what we call central tendency. What happens at the center of your data, basically. The mean is another word for what we call the average of a set of data. And the average, the way that we calculate that is we add, so we take the sum of all the data, all your numbers, and we divide that by the number of numbers, the number of pieces of data. So I'm going to write, there's my little number symbol there. So we take the sum of the data, we add it all up, and then we divide by the number of pieces of data. The way I describe it, I like to say the number of numbers. The number of numbers is another way to say this. So in example 2, find the mean of each set of numbers. Well, in part A, we have 2 numbers, 6 and 10. So what we do is we add the data, the sum of the data, and we divide by the number of pieces. Well, we have 2 numbers. So we can add the numerator, 16 divided by 2, so the mean is 8. If we have 3 numbers, we add them up and we divide by 3. So 3 plus 7 plus 8 is 18 divided by 3, which is 6. If we have 4 numbers, we add them up, we take the sum of all the numbers, and we divide by the number of numbers. Now this is 27 divided by 4. That does not divide evenly. Now we could write this as a mixed number, and 4 goes into 27 6 times. 6 times 4 is 24, which leaves us 3. So that's 6 3/4, but what's going to be more common here is to write this as a decimal. So 3/4, we said at the beginning, that's equal to 0.75, 0.75. So this is 6.75. So you can also use a calculator on these, but if you have simple arithmetic, let's try to do that in our heads or doing that by hand. So the mean is what we call the average of the numbers. The median is the middle. Median sounds like the word middle. Which number is in the middle? So in number 3 here, we have 3 more examples, A, B, C, and it says find the median of each set of numbers. Well, in part A, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, we have 5 numbers. Now what I like to do here, to get to the middle, you can eyeball this and you can see which one of those is the middle, but what I like to do is I'll cross off the ends. I'll cross off the biggest and smallest. So here, 12 and 22, that's the biggest and the smallest. And then I'll do it again, that would be 22 and 15, and if there's one number left, that is the median. So the median equals 18 for that. Now in part B, one thing you'll notice here is that the numbers are out of order. So if I were to start crossing off the ends, I would end up with 9. The problem is that 9 is not the median. So it's very important that when you're doing the median and finding the middle number, we first need to order them, least to greatest. We'll always order least to greatest. So we're going to rewrite this. So when I look at this, okay, 2 is the smallest, the least. And what I will do is just check them off as I write them down so I don't accidentally write them again. And then 4. Then we have 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. Okay, so now these are in chronological order, smallest to biggest. So to find the middle, what we'll do is we'll cross off the ends. So 2 and 12, 4 and 10, 7 and 9, and what's left is the number 8. So the median is equal to 8. Now in part C, first of all, these are out of order. So again, 14, 16, 18, 21. But this time you'll notice we have 4 numbers. So if I cross off ends, I can cross off 14, 21, but then we have a problem. We get to 16 and 18, and there's nothing in between them. If you end up with 2 numbers left in the middle, what we do is we take their average. The median will be the average of 16 and 18. So on the side, we will take the average of those 2 numbers, so we add them, it's the sum of the data, divided by the number of pieces of data, which is 2, because it's 2 numbers. That adds up to 34 divided by 2, and what we get is a median of 17. Now again, do you really have to write this down? Well, it's kind of obvious that what's in between 16 and 18, it's 17. So you might be able to just look at this and already know the answer, and that's fine if you can do that. So we've got mean is your average, median is the number in the middle, and then we have mode and range. Mode is the number most repeated. It's the number that you see the most. The range is the biggest minus the smallest. Biggest minus smallest. Or you could say greatest and least. There are a lot of ways that you could write this. Greatest minus the least. So what we do is we find the difference of the ends. So we subtract them. Okay, so number 4, find the mode and range of each set of numbers. So here in part A, in this case, when you're looking mode and range, again, it's important. We want to order these least to greatest. You can kind of eyeball it, but I do like to write them in order. So the 3 is actually good. Now when it comes to 5, we have 3 of them. So I'm going to write the number 5 3 times. We have 2 6s, we have a 7, we have a 13. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right, and that's important that especially when the number sets get bigger, I need to count and make sure that I've written everything down. Okay, so the mode is the number repeated the most. Well, there are 2 6s, but you'll notice we have more than that with the 5s. We have 3 5s. So the mode is 5. It's the number repeated the most. If there were 2 of these, if there were 2 5s and 2 6s, you could have 2 modes. That would be called bimodal. Now the range is the greatest minus the least. So the greatest number is 13, the least is 3, and the range is the difference, so we subtract them and we get 10. And that's it. In part B, let me write these in order. So we have 1, 2, 2 3s, so 3, 3, and then 5, 8, 9. And we look at this, is there a mode? Yes, the mode is 3. By the way, it is possible to have no mode. So on the side here, if the numbers were, let's say, just 2, 3, 4, 5, nothing repeats, there is no mode. That's how we would write it down. The range is the greatest, that's 9, the biggest, minus the least, the smallest is 1, 9 minus 1 is 8, and that's it. And that is the end of part 1.